Thank you for joining us on the Inbound Studio. Thank you everyone for being here. This one's a little different. Guys. We're not actually streaming it live, but we're gonna have a nice chat about storytelling.
Cool, one of my favorite subjects.
With Brit Marling, the creator and star of the OA, one of my favorite shows this year, for sure.
That's lovely to hear, thank you. Yeah, I think part of what's really complicated about storytelling right now is that we're all consuming so much story. I mean, if you think about it, I was having a conversation with my grandfather, and he was like, when I was growing up, you know, we went to the cinema every 3 months, you know. They were consuming like a few big stories a year. Now it's like 8-hour, 12-hour stories a couple times a week. And so I think what's happened is the average audience member has an incredibly sophisticated sense of story. Like, they know what's coming. They know all the things that screenwriters traditionally do. Guard is down. Otherwise, at least for me, I've got my guard up, you know? Yeah. I've got my arms crossed. I'm like,
what's happening.
I know what's happening. What's this person gonna show me? And they have to kind of, you know, they have to shock me in some way before I'm really gonna listen. I didn't think, I mean, this is gonna sound strange, but when I was a kid, I didn't know, I mean, I thought movies were made in like a cloud factory. You know, I didn't think real people had jobs putting together films. It felt like when you watched a film, so it wasn't something I had thought about really until college. And then I started making short films with a group of friends in college, and we all moved out to LA together and really kept making films there in the manner that we'd made them at Georgetown, which was just run and gun it, beg, borrow, steal locations. And that was sort of our way in.
Have you always considered yourself a storyteller? Has that been a part of you?
You know, I wouldn't have thought so necessarily. And then recently, apparently, I mean, I forgot about this until now. I got called down to the office and they were like, your parents are here to pick you up and take you home because so many kids have called their parents terrified of these stories. And they're like, kick that girl out of the cabin. So I guess.
All right, so now we know where a little of the OA came from.
I guess in one way or another, I have been telling stories for a while, but
You mentioned Netflix earlier and working on, you know, at Netflix and the sort of opportunity that's there with the shows that you're creating. How difficult or not difficult or enjoying is it to create, you know, to know that you have to create in a way that all parts of your story are coming out at one time? You know, they've sort of totally changed the model for television shows in that way.
Yeah,
and
totally. I mean, we were really thinking about that a lot in the beginning, and we wanted to create something that was an 8-hour film. So we had even asked Netflix, you know, is there a way that we can sort of go right from the ending right into the chapter card of the next one? And we were kind of part of helping them. It turned out that a lot of people were watching
did what I did.
Yes, watching
which
it.
was started it at 9 and then didn't get off the couch until 7 p.m. because I couldn't help it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think we didn't anticipate that. And I think now we would try to build into the design of the story more.
You mentioned the writer's room and moving into the second season of the OA. And so, I mean, you know, for you, but for anyone creating a television show, how much were you thinking about the prospect of a second season and what the continued story would be while developing the first season without knowing how it would take off?
We did a very insane and possibly stupid thing, which is we thought of everything from the get-go. We really planned out the architecture. What have we done? I mean, we've spent the last 3 years dreaming up this entire universe, hours and hours of storytelling, and if nobody buys this, it's like we've just walked on a limb and it broke, you know? I think sometimes you have to take risks like that. I think we felt like, you know, you could be done after one season, but thankfully a place like Netflix at least is being like, we're greenlighting, you know, this first round, and so you know at least you're gonna get to tell a full arc of the first part of the story. And then thankfully they decided to go for another season. Hopefully we'll get to the end that we intended.
I
don't
hope
know.
So.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. You say we,
Yeah.
so this get to the to the final product.
Yeah, you know, I was really fortunate. In college, I met 2 young, very talented filmmakers, Zalbat Monglich and Mike Cahill. And I think if anything, that's the thing that when I talk to young people about making stuff, this culture's, you know, very about the individual. And I think that sometimes works against creating new beginnings. I think if you can find people who are like-minded, passionate, want to try stuff that's different.
This is a real job
This
for
is a real
me.
job.
This is real.
These are real jobs. Yeah, but I think you need to have a community.
What is it about storytelling, because you said you were thinking about going into banking, economics, like these are very,
Different.
those completely different worlds.
Yeah.
So what is it about what you're doing now that's ultimately fulfilling?
We're working on chapter 7 right now. I literally maybe went to the bathroom twice, but otherwise was just there pounding at the chapter. And it's like being in a completely different world. I mean, you don't notice that the plane is touching down. you don't even notice the food as it's going by. You're just sucked into this other space. And I think storytelling, whether it's acting, writing, composing, any version of it, I think is about. I think, it's funny to me, I watched the original Alien with Sigourney Weaver recently. Trials and tribulations, acquires something, and comes back to the real world with a new understanding. It's a very classic linear journey. Maybe the female journey doesn't look like that.
Sure.
Maybe it's not a straight line that ascends. Maybe it's more elliptical. Because I've never seen them written and performed from the perspective of a woman. So it's a really exciting time to be in because we're all digging it out together. Nobody really knows what it is. But I know that I used to think I just wanted to write as a means to an end. How do we take it away from the token girl who makes us feel we've made progress and instead actually create a situation and a system of balance? And I think that really relies on the women who have been given a foot in the door to turn around and help other women in, which.
And you've been on the main stage, you've been up here with us, you've seen a bit of the event. What does Inbound mean to you? Awesome. We are so excited to have you and so thankful. Thank you for being here and thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.